Hi guys, I wanted to share a couple of things that I just got and am excited to try out and share with you my impressions. So I'll start with an order I made from Jackson's Art Supplies in the UK, and I'll show you what I got and kind of talk about it as I go along. So I wanted to see what kind of options for journals, like art journals and journals, I can find locally. So locally, when I say locally, I mean in Europe and not from overseas. So Jackson's in the UK. I'm not sure when, with Brexit and everything, I'm not sure how that will work out, but at the moment they have great prices and the shipping costs are fantastic. Many times I somehow get to free shipping, and other times it's just a few euros. So for me it's cheaper and easier than driving to my local art supply, my local art store, which doesn't have as many options for journals from what I have seen lately. Anyway, I'll show you what I got. So this one is called graffiti paper. It's a 9 by 12 inches pad with 25 sheets, and the company is Crescent, looks like, made in the USA, so it's probably cheaper to get in the USA. And this is bleed proof paper, and smooth, accepts paint and won't dry out markers. So it's really smooth paper, and let's see if they say what weight it is. They don't say. It's not really heavyweight. It doesn't say. It's not really heavyweight. I got it kind of for painting with paint markers and alcohol markers and that type of thing. And yeah, see how I like it. Just something different to try out. And now I got actually 3 journals with watercolor paper, and these 2 I already opened them. Everything came really nicely packed. So these 2 are by a company called Stillman and Birn, and I think they are in the UK. I'm not sure. No, it says bound in the United States. So I don't know where the paper is made. Anyway, they have a few series of journals in different formats, different sizes, I think also with a spiral bound, but these are stitched bound, which I really like. And I'll show you, they have like different series with different weights. So here you have the weight, and there are 150 grams per square meter, I think it is, or 270. And then you have the different, so the 150 is heavyweight, and then the 270 is extra heavyweight. You have the color, so they have white and then they have ivory, and you have the type of texture of the paper. So there is smooth, cold press, and medium grain, which I'm actually not sure if it's rougher or smoother, because I didn't get anyone with the medium grain. And what I got was the A4 sized, these are A4, yeah, I think they're A4 sized, yeah, A4 sized stitch bound hardcover journals in the series Zeta, which is extra heavyweight white smooth surface, and the Beta series, which is extra heavyweight white cold press surface. And these have 26 sheets each, and my goal with these was to see if they were a good alternative to the Jane Davenport journals, which, if you follow my channel, you know I'm in love with. So the Jane ones, I think, have more papers in them. Okay, so I counted. So the Jane Davenport ones have 42 pages and these have 25. So obviously that's less, but the size is very, very similar. The Jane ones are slightly bigger, a touch wider and a touch taller, and I really love their size. But yeah, they are currently available outside of the US only through Jane's website in Australia. So with shipping and everything, it becomes a little bit expensive, and I wanted to see if there are good local options. So these journals, what I like about a stitched spine is that they lay flat. So you see that they're like, when I say stitched, I mean that the pages are not glued, but they are stitched. I think these are also glued, but they're like glued to the back of the spine and not to each paper, if that makes sense. I'm not an expert in binding. So this one is the smooth. So obviously the paper is very smooth and it's very white. I don't know how their ivory option looks, but the Jane journal has a more, see, it's more, you can see the difference. This is like a cream color. It's beautiful, but I didn't know, I was scared that the ivory would be really dark, so I went for the white ones. So I can't tell you yet if the paper is as good as Jane's, better or worse, I don't know, but I wanted to show you. And this one is the cold pressed, so it has a little bit more texture, which I don't think the camera can pick up. And yeah, it's also stitched. It's extra heavyweight, so really heavyweight paper, and I got these journals with the intention of using mostly watercolors in them. If I want to use acrylics, I prefer to use my Dilutions journals, which have a nice paper that works well for paint, and they are a lot more affordable than watercolor paper journals. I also want to show you, I got from Jackson's a bunch of samples. They have samples for really, really low prices, and if you are serious about watercolor and you want to you know, invest in watercolor paper, which can get pricey, it's a really good idea to try it out before. Oh wait, I also got the paper samples for the company that makes these journals, and we can see how the ivory looks like. So they have the Alpha series, the Beta series, the Delta series. So you see this is the ivory. That's probably closer to the paper in Jane's journal. Yeah, I would say this one, that's the reason I didn't want to get the ivory, because it's even more yellow than the one in Jane's journals, and the ones in Jane journals are as much ivory or cream color as I would want to go. This is a little bit too much for my personal preference. But yeah, these paper samples are really, really great to try out and see if they work for you before you commit to a whole journal or paper pad or, you know, a pack. So at Jackson's, a lot of the companies offer this, and it costs like, I don't know, $50 or something like this, sometimes less. And sometimes they have, I think, also free offers. So yeah, these ones are samples from Jackson's Handmade at Two Rivers. So this is handmade paper, and this one is super thick. This one is the 660 and 30 grams. That's like really, really thick. And I also got the Saunders Waterford samples, and these are great. You know, once you use them and you kind of decide if you like the paper or not, you can have just fun with them, add them to your journals, and you know, it doesn't go to waste. And the last sample, no, not the last, I have a couple more here. This is the Botanical Ultra Smooth, so for people who do like these really, you know, detailed, hyper real or whatever it's called, flowers. It's kind of a trendy style right now. The smooth paper works well. I like usually my paper with a bit of texture. And this one is the Artistico Fabriano, is a very well-known brand. So there are 4 sheets here, and yeah, I think with 2 types of, so one is like rougher and then the other one is a little bit, they're all 4, like both kinds are textured, but this one has more texture and it's a little bit creamier than this one. So this is a really good idea of trying out papers. And the last journal that I got, which I just had to try, so this one is by a company called Khadi. I actually have no idea where it's made. It's, you can see it's handmade, stitched and a little bit glued here. Yeah, there's also glue to keep it together. And you see the size, this is huge. So it's 30 centimeters on 35, I think. And I just had to try it. And I got the, most watercolor papers come in 3 types of texture, let's say. You have the hot pressed, which is the smoothest, cold press, which has a little bit texture, and rough, which has a lot of texture. Which one to choose is a personal preference type of thing, and yeah, I like to paint on all 3. I tend to mostly use cold press because it's somewhere in the middle, but I also love to use rough. So I got this journal in the rough paper, and just look at this gorgeous size. So here you have these gorgeous kind of edges. I don't know, there's a nice word for it, but it's kind of a traditional look of handmade papers, and then the pages are stitched here in the middle. And yeah, this just makes me want to grab some paint, and it's very different from everything I've had. I really discovered in the last months that I prefer working most of the time in a journal. It works for me, it makes me feel more comfortable, more free. I had a lovely comment which I really enjoyed reading, about someone that said that I'm fearless in my journals, and I think that one of the reasons for that is because, I don't know, it's easier to be free in a journal than on a piece of paper. And I also like it that I don't have a pile of papers. So that's why I'm really going into journals right now. So I think I didn't show this. I got some extra pens. This is one of my current favorites, pen for journaling in my art journal. It's called a Feud Ball 1.5 by the company Otto. I think they are in Japan. Yeah, it says right there, right below, says made in Japan. So this one is kind of, I think you can see. So it's running a little bit low, I think. So I got a few refills through Amazon. And another thing that I was really curious about was I got this little set. It was a few dollars from Amazon. I will link you. And right, I know that there's an easy way to open this. Shouldn't leave these things. Should do these things before the camera is switched on. So I got these little babies on Amazon, and I was just super curious. The trays seems to be exactly like the ones in the Gansai Tambi sets, the Kuretake ones. And so these are also made in Japan. And I just love these crazy fluorescent colors. So I think what we will do is grab one of these nice samples. Let's take one of the thinner papers and see how it handles water, because a thin paper that handles water well is a great thing to have. So let's see, ignore my super dirty water. You will of course do this with clean water. Let's grab a brush. Okay, so magics of video. So I'm just really curious about these crazy fluorescent watercolors. And I'm sure the camera can't pick up just how fluorescent it is, but it's actually doing pretty well from what I'm seeing on my camera window. So this is really, really... I was just so curious because, you know, you can find acrylic paint that is fluorescent like really easily, but this, it seems like it's watercolor. Lumi Accent Color. Kisho Nihonga. Made in Japan. So it doesn't say if it's actual watercolor, but it looks like watercolor. Let's see. The problem with fluorescent colors is that, besides the fact that they are not light fast, but I really think for art journalists, it shouldn't be a concern. But they just don't look as great on camera. Like this orange is completely fluorescent in real life, and the camera doesn't pick it up, and also if you scan your work it just doesn't translate. So it's something to remember, you know, if you're doing work that is meant to be reproduced, it's a little bit problematic. So I can tell you that this color is really, really fluorescent, and you can't see that on camera at all. And this one is this lovely bright, it's probably my favorite, really, really vibrant, but it looks completely muted on camera. So these ones are not so bad, and this one is also pretty close. But I think these will be a lot of fun, and for me it's a huge, because I have nice watercolor brushes, and my acrylic paint brushes are not that nice because I ruined them, so I don't want to spend any money on good ones. Anything that is, you know, watercolor, I feel more comfortable using because I can use my good brushes. So yeah, these colors are fantastic. If you love fluorescent colors, you will love these. And yeah, they are watercolor. You can just use them exactly like watercolor. So I will put links to everything. And yeah, I'm looking forward to using these in my art journals. Thanks for watching.